This morning show, and we're about to have our main discussion that will be focusing on the cybersecurity threats in relation to the upcoming general elections. And I have in the studio here my two co-hosts, these strong men who have named me Idi Amin, Clement Yabankwe and Nanaya Wasari. But we will be having a cybersecurity expert and analyst in the person of Mr. Adib Sani via phone-in. He will also be answering questions and educating us on the measures to take, to protect ourselves in the world of cybersecurity. So before we indulge Mr. Adib Sani, these two able gentlemen here will be giving us some tidbits, some stories that they also have heard around with relation to security here in the country, linking up to cybersecurity. Yes, gentlemen, what is up?
Yeah, finally we are back. Yes, and the issue we're talking about during the online review is also a security threat issue.
Yeah, it is.
And
so by all means, we have to talk about it.
Exactly.
Okay. So security. Yes. What do you have to say?
So we're actually talking about the GRE seizing the arms that got into the ports of Ghana from United States. And my question was, why couldn't United States officials do that investigation to find out these items in the container before it was even shipped to Ghana? So that was my first thing I just wanted to lay out there. And my second thing was the fact that I raised a concern that as at 2020 October, the same incident happened.
So that means it's in and around this particular season that the arms are being sort of transported.
Exactly.
So continue.
Okay. So in 2020 October, the same thing happened, and when it happened, still now we don't know the outcome of the research or the analysis they did, the investigation they did. We don't know the outcome yet. Whether these people or the people involved were punished or not, we don't know yet. So people are of concern that this same thing might happen in this current issue we are talking about, because people are also of the view that in 2020, after even season, we still have arms in the country, and it caused a lot of violence during the election. So yes, we understand that the Commissioner of Customs Division says they are really going to work tirelessly on this very issue. But we are hoping that they should come out with all the finders regarding this issue. And before we went, we mentioned that the agent has actually been arrested. And you said that, yes, the issue now is not the agent, but rather the original source. So we should trace this to the original source. And before we came, before you come, I was listening to one security analyst, and he made a point clear that they can trace where this thing is coming from by following the serials of these arms.
Yes.
They can trace to that source. So we are believing that they do that as soon as possible.
So Clement, you're spot on with that particular analysis. But just before we concluded, we also mentioned, we talked about a particular trend. That's what we concluded, that in 2004, there was an analysis on these unregistered small arms circulating in Ghana. And then we mentioned that there were around 250 to 400,000 small arms which were circulating in and around the country. That was in 2004. And so this kind of survey is being done 10 years on. And then historically it showed that there was an attrition rate of about 20%. That means a lot of arms were sort of...
If it's 2004, it's 20.
So yes, so of 20%. So
20 years, actually.
20 years, yes. So I'm building up to a point. And then in 2014, another survey was done. And then initially we thought, or we hoped, that the attrition rate was going to be stable. That means we were expecting that as at 2014, it was going to reduce further by 20%, which was going to bring the figure somewhere around 160,000 to about 230,000 arms in circulation. But then now what we actually realized was that the figure astronomically increased over 400%. So the number actually went to 2 million. So that should send an alarm of the kind of security and safety risks that we are actually being faced with.
Okay.
That notwithstanding, the attrition rate then couldn't have been negative. That means it actually went up. It went up ahead.
Yeah.
That means from 2014, where it was 2 million, it's even touted that in 2024, which is the year that we are currently in, if the results of that particular survey comes, it's likely that we are going to have almost as half of the population of the country. So it's something that we need to actually be cautious of and to think about very, very well. This particular survey was done by Professor Annie. So he's a security analyst, and he's in the University of Ghana. Does very good job on these particular things. So now looking at this particular trend, and also looking at the fact that we have not publicized information concerning the results, because in October 2020, the same thing happened again. In 2019, similar story happened. So and it's being touted. I mean, there are some theorists that are saying that it's being touted that Ghana having its transportational routes in and around Africa. You know, there was a war that was West Africa, I should say. There was a war that went on some time back in Ivory Coast. There is some sort of civil unrest in Burkina Faso, and then the other likes, the countries like Niger and the likes. So it's very easy for you to move from Ghana because we have considerably good road networks. So is Ghana being some sort of a transit point to these other countries where people can actually bring arms in, take them to other places without being noticed? And it looks as though for the person to actually carry 2 bags of arms, that means the person must have had a history of being successful in this particular place. So then we need to now find out where are the leaking points in our borders. We've actually, this particular point of our border, that's the Golden Jubilee terminal at the Tema Port. It looks as though they have a history of actually catching these people, because this is like the 4th time in a row that this particular thing has happened. So it begs to question that what measures have been put in place, especially after you seeing that happen 3 times in a row, for you to have 53 pistols, over 73 mechanized machine guns or revolvers in there. So it's and that's without we saw videos of the bullets and all those things. So it begs to differ. What measures are in place to ensure safety and security? And I'm going to take us back a little bit to sometime a week or 2 ago when we came here on Tuesday for the morning show. And then we talked about the Boku incident, and we mentioned that there were a lot of people that were killed and injured by the use of arms in these tribal wars or civil wars. So until that particular thing happened, and when that particular thing happened, we appealed to the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, which is the President of Ghana, to actually come and say something to allay fears of safety and security concerns. But up to now, that wasn't done. And so these are concerns that we are actually sort of thinking about. The average Ghanaian who would not be able to afford a plane ticket or does not have a visa to travel abroad when there's any brouhaha. What is then going to be his concern?
So if you leave these men, they will talk the whole show. So my dearest, cherished viewers, please send in your comments so I can read them aloud so they don't take over. You know they tried this morning. Send your comments to our WhatsApp number displayed on your screen. Send them to our Facebook or YouTube live stream as you join. Call your friend, call a brother, call a sister, and join in the conversation here so that these 2 men don't take over. Yes. So Clement, you were about to make a submission.
As he said, this issue it's a serious issue we need to look at because of the election approaching. I think less than 17 days, 16 days to election, and having this incident occurring, it's a very bad thing that we need to look at very carefully. But I was looking at what does the Constitution of Ghana says concerning the importation of arms into Ghana. When it says, according to the Act 1972, NRCDN, that 9, it talks about Section 1, Section 2 talks about prohibition of possession of firearms. But Section 2 says that establish that no one can import, manufacture or possess firearms or ammunition unless authorized by the government. And particularly the Ministry of Interior. When you go down, they said individuals or entities wishing to import firearms must apply for an import permit from the Ghana Police Service or the Ministry of Interior, depending on the specific case. So my first question
I think this is just to buttress the acts that you mentioned. When you look at the Customs Act 2015, that's Act 891, it also talks about non-declaration and concealment of weapons at ports, which is also against the law, and it refers to this particular act and says that if you need to import, then you have to have the requisite registrations done and must be known and approved by the Ministry of Interior. So this is just to buttress your point on that particular one.
Okay, and I thank you. So when you go to the 2, that's the same act. It said the Firearms and Ammunition Control Regulation says these regulations complement the Arms and Ammunition Act and outline specific procedural requirements for the importation of firearms. And as writing and I said, there's documentation needs to be made known.
Yeah.
So my question is, whoever is in charge of these arms in the country, was the documentation process being made known?
I think if we were to be known, then they wouldn't have been arrested. So now it clearly shows that it's illegal. A breach. It's illegal.
Okay.
Because once you've been arrested, and I think now where we have to safeguard is the Ministry of Interior now.
That's true.
So that no one can actually go and get some of these deals backdated because they'll be sorted out with cash.
Sure.
So this is where the police forces need to actually turn their attentions to the registration department for all these arms the Constitution allows. This is where our security agencies need to turn their attentions to, in as much as also tracking the serial numbers on the weapons. Now, if they turn their attentions to this, that means the person is locked and cannot go and then go and register. And because we've been in Ghana, when it comes to the importation of illegal substances, we saw drugs believed to be cocaine turn to coconte powder overnight. And these are things that raises concerns, because the average Ghanaian sitting behind will be thinking that should right now the owner or it's just the agent and then the consulate that has been caught.
Exactly.
The owner of the goods has not yet been identified as at now, as at the time of we talking on this morning show. So the owners have not been caught, the owners have not been apprehended. So what are their movements in this particular one? If you can actually track and find out the serial numbers, to track the accounts that the payments and the guns were also bought from. And now also in the United States, it's also being touted that there are a lot of unregistered weapons in the country. Although
considering this new president, and I think I heard some allegations that now you may not necessarily even need to register your weapon. I think literally anybody can own a weapon, so it could also affect people exporting these weapons into countries like this. And then I'm sure there are even allegations that it could be politically related. We are
yet to see that.
So that is the point that we were trying to. I was maybe trying to drive at whether in this particular, because we've seen a trend of this thing happening in and around election years.
Time.
So we saw one happening late 2019, which the following year was an election year. We saw one happen in October 2020, which was an election year, which was just a few days or just a month or so to election. And we've seen another one happen in
2021.
In 2021 as well. We've seen another one happen in just over 18 days to election at the time that they were caught. So now, if you think about all these things, it actually goes to say that this is a particular trend. The security forces, the security agencies, have they been able to sort of track and mark? Because all these ones, the 2021, when they were apprehended, we never heard the end of the story. The 2019 one, when they were apprehended, we never heard the end of the story. So it looks as though, even if it is true, to allay the fears of the public, you need to actually bring out the findings.
But then also, if we are being realistic, these weapons are not here to allay anybody's fears. They are here to be used as a show of force or something of the sort, because there hasn't been any sort of news or information that our security agencies are lacking in ammunition, that we need to import some more to mitigates that issue. So these weapons being imported here are definitely for a reason. I think there was a time we also spoke about the fact that it seems as though this Ghana is being a form of harbor for terrorists, even though they don't operate
here.
Yeah.
They are
Yes.
here setting up camp and things like that. This could be one of the things they could be doing, if that is true, if that allegation is true. And then also in the political landscape, where these parties and their people, the sycophants and everything, where for the sake of trying to win and things like that, they have people assigned to certain polling stations to sort of intimidate people and things like that. These are all possible reasons why these things are also being imported. But then that aside, with the conversation we're about to have with Mr. Adib Sani about cybersecurity, it brings my mind back to the fact that there was a story some months back, if not weeks, that a man had a BVD machine in possession. And
exactly.
I think that's the closest I can link to elections, because it's not like our electoral process is
Currently, Ghana,
electronic.
our electoral process is quite electronic.
Slightly,
than-
you know,
the only thing
with the
that is
registration,
not electronic is now the voting.
The vote,
thing.
yeah.
But aside the voting, the rest are all electronic.
Yeah, that's
The
true.
rest are all electronic.
Well, considering the registration and things like that, so issues with how many people are being registered, because even in relation to the National Cathedral, there was somebody on the board or so that had about 3 different identity cards.
Mr.
It was allegation. I think.
But I think I saw images of
allegation.
these various
I mean,
think so.
I mean, there were issues. There were issues that. Had
So
come
these
up,
are some of the things that we need to address with the cybersecurity area, because it was in Nigeria or one of these other African countries. Pardon me for the mistake, the mix-up, where it was posted actually, and this is clearly the face of a child, but the person has been registered as a voter, so that the number of voters in that electoral area or that constituency would be increased, and then when it's rigged, it meets the number. But the people registered, you see the ID cards are printed all right, and they are children, and it is definitely one of these African countries, but I'm not very sure. I have a feeling it was Nigeria. These are things that could be happening, and I mean, we would have to talk with Mr. Adib Sani to find out how exactly these things can be checked, and then how to even prevent it to start with.
So because we are using electronic means and for verification and then and all that, but we have to also think about data protection and voter data protection and data integrity. You know, we were all there, and then all of a sudden I received messages from particular political parties representative. And then it mentioned my name clearly and mentioned where my that I'm in the Ayawaso West Wuogon region, and that particular political party's representative or flag bearer is going to be coming there, so I should make myself available and all that. And that sort of I wouldn't say scared me, but it got me alarmed, because we believe in data protection.
Exactly.
We have the Data Protection Commission who have been working, and I've also been trained as a data protection supervisor as part of training on data analytics. But one of the things to ensure is the data integrity of subjects.
Okay.
So that I can actually say that the EC has actually failed when it comes to that, or have not performed. No, used failed maybe too harsh of a word, but the EC have not performed their work to their utmost best, if I can put it in that particular way. Because how then does my data, which is only disclosed to the Electoral Commission, because where I vote, my name, and then how then is that particular data
a particular political party
in the public for with my phone number as well,
but
for them to
before we continue, we need to go on a quick break. So when we come back, we will continue the conversation, and we are hoping to get Mr. Adib Sani on the line to also educate us more on cybersecurity, the threat in relation to the election. So we will be right back. to our upcoming general elections, and we'll be having a security analyst in the person of Mr. Adib Sani. He is the CEO of Judike Security Center, and he's very knowledgeable in the field of cybersecurity especially. I also have my two co-hosts in the studio here with me, Nanaya Wasari and Clement Yabankwe, who are also talking about the security issues in terms of some of the ammunitions and guns. What is the term used for that one? Anyway, don't forget to send in your comments to our WhatsApp number displayed on your screens, or as you join the live stream on Facebook and on YouTube, you can send your comments there, your questions. And if you have any questions too, when we have the call with Mr. Adib Sani, feel free to ask these questions. Okay, so we have Mr. Adib Sani on the line. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you're well, please.
Very well, thank you. I trust you are fine too.
Yes, please. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Pleasure is mine.
So, yes, we wanted to discuss cybersecurity, the threat, especially with the upcoming elections. So, I will just go quickly into it since there's not much time. What are some of the primary cybersecurity issues that we'll be facing with regards to our elections this year? Or possible challenges, yes.
Okay, well, good morning. A very good morning to your production team. If you woke me up from bed this morning.
Yes, no for that.
I slept very late because I got home after 12 midnight because we are on election-related duty. And I just slept for additional 2 hours, woke up and saw 142 missed calls.
Hey, 142 missed calls.
42 missed calls.
Wow. I hope they're not from my producer.
Oh no, but most of it was from your producer. I mean, I admire Ifua's resolve. She does so well.
That's my producer for you. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So I think one of the major threats we'll be facing is the incident of
the incident. Could you position yourself a little bit? The line is breaking up.
Okay. Can you?
Yes, please.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. So, like I indicated, one of the issues we would have to contend with this election is the incidence of misinformation and disinformation.
Okay.
If you are not careful, you might be an agent of misinformation without knowing. That is why it is important that you always verify and you take information from credible sources. You might be sent information in a quest to be in a hurry, so to speak, to spread it. You might spread it and later realize that it's the wrong information. Last night, I got a video of some seized weapons.
Yeah.
I think at the port. When I saw it, I realized it was a UTV footage, but I wasn't quick to talk to it or disseminate it. I waited this morning to confirm from UTV. They said yes, it happened and it's their footage. Because it could have been an old footage years ago that would resurface.
Yeah.
So we need to be mindful of these threats. Then we also have threats that comes in the form of phishing attacks. Recently, we saw a message going around everywhere that John Mahama is dashing 500 CDC to all citizens.
Hey, and I didn't hear it.
And so, I don't know if you've seen it.
Yes, so click on this link to get your share of the money.
500 Ghana cedis.
Yes, it's cyber phishing.
It was all over the place. And believe me, a professor of security fell for it.
Oh.
Yes.
A professor
it
of
to me.
security.
I'm telling you, he said it to me. I was like, oh, sir, this is fake. He was like, oh, really? It actually too good to be true.
Okay.
You see, so when you click, they have access into your device. And that is where they take advantage to do targeted marketing. You and I would have a private discussion about the fact that you are pregnant. Then the next minute you go on social media, pregnancy ads will start popping. That is fishy. Or we talk about a shoe you like, a designer shoe. Then you go on social media, straight up, designer shoe ads start popping up. So we need to be careful about it. And exercise a great deal of caution before we click. We are too in a hurry to click. But generally, it is our responsibility to ensure that we do our own background. Because on election day, particularly, we are bound to have people sending wrong information about how some other people want to steal and are becoming violent and are unruly, and so you should come there, wherever they actually come, and you get it's false. Okay?
Yeah.
So we need to be mindful of these threats going into the election.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Adib Sani. My thoughts, just because you've raised out the issues on cyber security, my few questions I want to ask. We know this country, just before you joined us in the studio via the phone call, we were talking about the Data Protection Act and how the Electoral Commission, in its mandates of delivering its duties, have maybe not so far performed it to the best of their abilities when it comes to the purpose. The principles of data protection. One of them is the purpose of limitation. That is to say, you are supposed to state expressly what you are collecting our data for. And when they were collecting our data, that's the Electoral Commission, they mentioned that they were collecting it for voting purposes and not because to aid in any political party's campaign. But here is the case that we were going around and we were receiving messages from political parties concerning where we live and all that. So it got me alarmed that the people that we've entrusted our data to are actually doing this to us in terms of data protection. And this Electoral Commission and the collection of data process is also governed by the Data Protection Act. So it's actually lets us beg to think to the fact that are they serving in the voter best interest, and are they also performing their duties to the best? I want you to just share your thoughts on that particular one.
It's a very good question because whenever you gather data of people, you are supposed to be certified by the Data Protection Agency. Okay. Even though the Cyber Security Authority also came out with a duplication of asking companies and other entities who gather data to come and register with them, and I got a bit confused at that point because I run an IT firm and we have GPS tracking systems.
Yeah.
With over 5,000 vehicles on our system, okay?
Yeah.
And so we are certified by the Data Protection Agency or Commission. I forgot which one it is.
It's the Commission.
Yes. And I remember one day I was called and given a very juicy offer by one of the ride-hailing app companies, and that they needed to know my GPS tracking system, how people move. They needed to know what time it takes them from one point to another, and they needed too much information, and they were willing to pay a lot of money for it. I said, no, this is not possible. But the thing is, how many people are like me? because we always have some unscrupulous persons from within who would be willing to give that information for large sums of money. Okay, for example, you have people sending you all sorts of messages about coming in for loans, and sometimes they say it at the point of what do you call it? At the point where you are far from receiving your salary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So at that
you
point,
need financial
obviously,
assistance.
financial assistance. Okay. We have those who would send you messages at the point you just receive your salary to come buy things from groceries to electrical appliances to building materials. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's data harvesting, and sometimes people harvest our data with our consent, but because we are ignorant about it, we willingly pretend that they were able to send messages to people immediately after you register. I think that is disturbing. But you know, we're in Ghana. People don't take their privacy or the sanctity of their information as seriously as other jurisdictions. In other jurisdictions, one message comes through your phone, trust me, you will steal the hell out of that message. But here, we just take it normal, you know. But privacy is extremely key.
So what is the way forward there?
Well, I think institutions should be held accountable for some of these lapses. We should have someone assertive to one day bear the consequences and sue an entity he feels has violated his, personal information or data. It sends a clear signal to the others to understanding that, hey, Ghanaians are becoming wiser about protecting their data. I think also there's a need for enforcement. You know, we have a lot of laws in Ghana.
Yeah.
But enforcement has always been a challenge. The Data Protection Commission should follow up. All those who gather data should have been certified before they do so. But on daily basis, you go to events, at the registration desk, you give out information, your name, your details, your address, a whole lot of places that I don't think data protection knows they are even there in the first instance. So the onus also lies on you and I. We know what to give and what not to give. So sometimes I go to a restaurant, can you imagine? They need you to type your details, your name, because sometimes some of these you pre-book before you even get there in the first.
Yeah.
So my name is Ali Sani. I write Kofi Kusi and Ebenezer Arthur. Give them the wrong information where you think it's not necessary to give out that information. I'll give you the wrong residential address. I have this phone number I used years ago. I don't even use it any longer. I'll use that phone number. So let's be very mindful of that and know where to give your true information and where not to.
Okay, thank you very much. There was this issue that you talked about, not really related to cyber security, but over the week, you talked of or expressed disappointment in EC refusal to some civil society organization, of which your firm happens to be one, that is not getting accreditation to monitor the electoral process. We would like to find out that has that issue been resolved by the EC, since it's all measures of security threat to our elections?
No, it has not been resolved, but we have appealed it and are patiently waiting to hear from EC or hear what they would have to say. Because lately there's been a lot of information, negative press about the Electoral Commission, how they want to do this, they want to do that. And we thought it's in the interest of the Electoral Commission to have civil society like us being part of the process, at least to restore some level of public trust and confidence in the process.
Yeah.
But if EC has decided to not let civil society observe, what do they have to hide? The EC chair, Madame Clementa, what is she hiding? Why doesn't she want civil society to observe? Civil society organizations such as CENCO, the Center for Conflict Resolution, they've been monitoring elections since 2008. They were there in 2012, 2016, 2020, and even the very recent Appeal North elections. They were there. They were duly accredited. So what has changed? Why are they preventing us from observing? What do they have up their sleeves? We don't understand. And all of these validate people's existing perceptions and, in fact, misconceptions and mistrust people's fears about what the true intentions of the EC is. So when you deny us accreditation, you only validate all those, misconceptions or negative thoughts about the EC. And so we think that they need to reconsider and grant us accreditation. So we go in and see firsthand what is going on. And for civil society, we will not see black and say it's dark ash.
Yes.
We will not see red and say it's wine.
Yes.
We say it as it is. Okay. And if you do a good work, we report it and everybody would be happy because the people trust civil society more than the politicians, more than even the EC itself.
Okay.
So we are waiting to see what she says.
Okay, sir. Thank you for that. But have some civil society organizations been given the access to do that?
Some have been given.
Some have been given.
Who don't have, some have been given, and that is why we are surprised why very qualified, newly registered CSOs like ours who have experiences
Okay, so sir,
in
what was the
election
reason?
observation are refused.
Okay, so
Sorry?
what was the reason they cited for not giving you the access? Not only your organization, as you said, like the Human Security Research Center Ghana also was not given access. The FESF also foundation was not given access. So what was the issues they cited?
It seems we've lost Mr. Adib Sani. We will do our best to get him back on the line. But I would want to ask you, my co-hosts here, do we think that our systems are evolved enough for the digitization process that our electoral process is undertaking these days?
Yes, yeah, that was one question I wanted to ask the security analyst.
Well, I've transferred it to you.
Yes, so let me just share my thoughts on this. Yeah, I think we have a lot of work to do in terms of our system as Ghana itself, not even electoral process alone, because we were in Ghana where we heard of the Ghana card double registration exercise. So I asked myself, does it mean that our networking of devices were not done correctly? Because if it was done correctly, you should detect easily that I've already registered in Greater Accra when I'm about to do it in Western Region. You should already detect.
There should be some synchronicity.
Yes, exactly. So if something like this failed to happen, meaning that there is more work to do in terms of cybersecurity on all these devices. When it comes to elections, like you mentioned, the VVD machines that we heard a lot, of which we know minority raised a lot of concern. Whether these machines have been used to register some voters of which we don't know of, and all these kind of things.
Pre-programmed and things.
I think these are all issues EC need to open up to some security organizations like that of Mr. Adib Sani's own. They are also security analysts and cybersecurity, of course, for them to move into all these matters so that we, the voters, we would be at peace. And as he said, we would accept any result that comes.
But one thing that we also have to also think about and talk about is the fact that.
So before we've gotten Mr. Adib Sani back on the line. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, it seems we lost you for a minute.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so I was asking my co-host that our systems evolved enough for the digitization processes that we started undertaking, not only related to the elections, but in general in Ghana here. But okay, let's just streamline it to elections. Are our systems evolved enough?
Well, I think giant strides have been made, and we've talked a lot of success since the inception of the Fourth Republic. There's still a long way to go, though.
Okay.
But you start at the point. Digitization has played a very important role in making life comfortable for us. I hate entering the banking hall. I hate it. I don't like going in, the queue, staying in the queue, long queues. In fact, sometimes you go into the bank, very short queue, but one person, they use like 1 hour to service the thing, you know. But with digitization, I simply pick up my phone, I transfer money from my Momo to my account and vice versa. I'm able to withdraw from a Momo outlet. I have, ATM. They make life easy. But for most people, as I speak with you, I'm in the northern part of the country. For most people, digitization is not their issue. It's the everyday bread and butter issues. You can imagine. You go to a place such as Nantong and go and talk to the women about digitization. When you go, they are talking to you about electricity. They are talking to you about fertilizer for their farm, and the fact that they need certain basic necessities of life, such as water.
Yeah.
Okay. Not digitization. Yesterday, for example, we're at a community somewhere deep in the neck of Karaga, the finance minister's conference. We're there until around 12 midnight. No network. No network. You can't make calls, nothing. So you go to tech people and talk to them about digitization. Where's the network digitalized? Okay, so in as much as it is a good thing, but I think it serves mostly to those of us in the city. But if you go to other parts of the country, well, it's a different ballgame altogether.
Okay, so with this issue and in relation to our BVD machines and all these other digital devices that will be used for the elections, how is the balance going to be struck?
Well, of course, digitalization is an added layer of security in our electoral scheme of things. Okay, but it's not absolute. You need the human intervention. You need people to shine their eyes, to keep an eye on what is going on. Okay, because systems can always be compromised. It is humans that create the system. Just as they create the software and create the viruses, the antiviruses. Okay. So we need to be very careful. In as much as digitalization helps.
It even brings me to my next question about how secure the voter registration is. Being a security analyst, is there some sort of access you are given to be able to sort of check these things, supervisory roles, to be able to analyze these devices for us to know that these devices are secure for our elections to be free, fair, and transparent?
Well, that is what the NDC was calling for. The need for an assessment, a full assessment, examination of everything. But I don't know what happened. It wasn't. It didn't happen that way. But I don't think we can do it at this point. It's late. Everybody is hot with this campaign activities. But I do hope that the EC wouldn't want to leave a bad legacy. The EC and the Madame Jean Mensa would want to leave good legacy, because nobody wants certain things to happen under his or her watch. Okay, that is why I believe that the EC would be able to do a good job. However, I have my concerns. My concerns has got to do with the transparent nature of things within the Electoral Commission. I am particularly disappointed, and I find it very irresponsible on the part of the EC not to grant accreditation to these PSOs. As a matter of fact, one of the CSOs, the executive director, is General Arnold Quino, the first commanding officer of ECOMOC. When ECOWAS was formed, it was an economic community. But when Liberia started giving the community bubble, the military wing of it was formed, and General Osin was the first commanding officer in Ghanaian. So why? What is going on?
Okay, were there reasons given as to why your CSO was not given the accreditation needed?
Good question. Good question. I'm trying to retrieve the letter that was written to us from the EC. It was very straightforward, very succinct, no explanation, no basis, no nothing. The EC was very, very straightforward with it. All they said is, and I'm reading the whole letter to you, okay?
Okay.
Dear sir, read application for accreditation as observer for general elections. I bring you warm greetings from the Electoral Commission and trust that this letter finds you well. I thank you for your application for accreditation for election observation. The Commission is unable to accept your application at this time. Kindly accept assurances of our highest regard. Yours sincerely, Mrs. Jean Mensa, Chairperson. That's all.
Okay, so maybe from the top of my head, there must be some justification. So a few questions that are popping up.
In the letter.
So a few questions that are popping up.
She has the opportunity.
Yes.
She has the opportunity. Someone writes to you. Yes. Someone writes to you. You are replying. Yes. When again would you want to give?
So a few questions
when again would you want to explain yourself? She has all the opportunity to tell us your institution is not well documented. It's not well registered. You didn't attach this document. You are a terrorist organization. You are engaged in terrorist financing. You are
well, a few questions that are popping up in my head.
I've forwarded the letter to Ifua.
Okay, so I'm sure she'll share it with us. But a few questions that are popping up in my head is that maybe I'm just asking because there are other CSOs who actually got their licenses by the Electoral Commission, who got their access that they were actually looking for. So a few questions that are popping up in my head was that, are there any of maybe people or members of your CSO who have sort of shown affinity to any political color that maybe may have prompted the EC to make that kind of decision?
No, it's a no. EC would have even stated it if they had any proper basis.
So it means that it doesn't seem to be.
I don't understand. We don't know what is going on.
Because
I don't know
that seems the only justifiable reason.
But it wasn't given, so you can't also give. So that would have to be hypothetical.
Yeah. So, Mr. Sani,
that's what I'm saying.
Yes. Please, this is my last question. Please, talking about this CSO, that's the civil service organizations that we have. I just want to find out that, do you see it to be a threat on our general elections for granting other society accreditation and others not having the accreditation? Is it a threat to our general elections coming 7 December?
It's a very big threat. It's a very serious threat because it adds to the suspicions, my brother.
Okay.
People are throwing jabs. People are different, talking a lot about there's been some movements of officers at EC. There's been some transfers because they want to do this EC BDD machines got missing and they were found somewhere. There's a lot of negative press about the EC.
Wow.
So when we come in, it helps. You get me?
Yes.
Because we tell the people, no, what you are saying about the EC is not true. We have seen it for ourselves. So actually, it's in easy interest to have had that to be passed.
Okay, so Mr. Sani, we want to find out that currently that you don't have access to observe the election process. What is the next step of this CSOs? Is there something you're going to do before 7 December?
Well, the thing is, before the letter came, in fact, we were even earlier. We were following up every week. Then they said we would have the reply the first week of November, and truly we had the reply. But before that, we had gone round Tolem, Kariga, Bishugu, Kumbungu, Sabulugu. We've gone around so many places in the north to train over 2,000 observers.
Oh, okay.
Hundreds of thousands of Ghana cedis was used. And so we're very disappointed that we've engaged people already. And this is what, because we never expected in our wildest dreams that EC would refuse us accreditation, because that has always been the custom. And per law, you seated in the studio, you can apply to EC requesting to be an observer.
Okay.
It's nothing. You can observe. So what we are doing is we've appealed. We've appealed.
Okay.
And we are waiting to see what they will say. If nothing positive comes, then we might, resort to other means. And legal is not, it's surely one of those things we could look at.
Okay, please.
Okay. So I think we have a lot of questions, but our time is
Mr. Adib Sani, thank you so much for joining us. Immediately you land in Accra, if I will come to your house, drag you to our set, so we have a longer and more in-depth conversation about cybersecurity. That is a promise. So keep it in mind. Thank you so much for your time, and we wish you all the best. We hope that you get back to Accra safely.
Thank you so much.
And
yes, so to conclude, time has, but just to conclude, I just needed this particular one from him. The CSO topic sort of took our attention. But that notwithstanding, the last time we faced electoral violence in Ghana was in 2016 during the or just after that during the by-election at Ayawaso West Wuogon, and that prompted on August 2019, that prompted the assentment of or the assenting of the Vigilantes Act, Act 999. So that is what I wanted to ask. But with these weapons that have been found and all that, what is its impact on vigilante groups which have been disbanded, and what are the preparations for the police? We heard the IGP in the Eastern Region, one of his stores, mentioned that the police are best placed, are well equipped to make sure that they combat these things, but this will be on their blind side. So with all these preparations going on and all that, so we just needed some security analytics.
Well, we are hoping to get him hopefully next week. We'll do our best that if he gets back to Accra, so that we'll have him here, and then we can talk better, because on phone, sometimes the network and everything. So all your questions, you can write them down. If you like, send them to me. I'll ask them for you. And you can also, if you're not on set, you can join the stream and then send the questions to us here. Thank you so much, my co-hosts, for your time. And this time, at least, you comported yourselves. This brings us to the end of the Cocoa Digest Morning Show. And we want to say a big thank you to you, our cherished viewers. A big thank you to all our guests that made it to the show, gave us their time to help us educate, inform, and of course, entertain you here on the Cocoa Digest Morning Show. And then also we want to say thank you to everybody who joined hands to make this show a success. We are most grateful. And as you go about your day, don't forget to keep that beautiful smile on your face, spread positive vibes as well, and of course, have a blissful weekend ahead.
Clog TV, beyond the policy.